The 1974 draft class changed the Pittsburgh Steelers. A franchise we now know as one of the best in NFL history hadn't really amount to anything. They had one thing to their name, the Immaculate Reception, which even to this day people will still call a fluke. And they were in a tough conference. They had the undefeated Miami Dolphins, the silver and black Oakland Raiders. They were in a tough spot. But entering the 1974 draft class, that changed. They drafted so phenomenally well. It's one of the best classes in NFL history and probably sports history as well. 4 future Hall of Famers and signed another one as an undrafted free agent. 5 Hall of Famers from one draft class. Their names are Lynn Swann, Jack Lambert, John Stallworth, Mike Webster, and Donnie Shell. 5 guys that would change the franchise course forever and help the Steelers reel in 4 Lombardi trophies. We have to talk about their first pick, Lynn Swann. Now, Lynn Swann became a household name after tremendous Super Bowl appearances. His rookie year, he really didn't do much. He only had 11 receptions for 208 yards. Even back in the day, that wasn't great production. But he developed as a player. He never had a 1,000-yard season. But in 9 career years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had 5,462 yards with 51 touchdowns and 4 Super Bowl wins, including a Super Bowl MVP. Lynn Swann rose when the occasion was at its brightest, making spectacular plays in the Super Bowl, especially against the Dallas Cowboys. Lynn Swann became that guy that Steelers fans remember making those tremendous tippy-toe sideline catches, as he would often display from his history of learning ballet dancing to become better with his footwork at the NFL level. Lynn Swann was a tremendous player and was by far an early demonstration of what the Steelers could be with high-flying athletics at the wide receiver position. But some argue he's not even the best wide receiver from this draft for the Steelers. Their second guy I want to talk about would be their second-round pick, Jack Lambert, a guy who started 138 games in 11 years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a career-long Steeler. He had 28 interceptions in his career, forcing only surprisingly 1 fumble, but recovering 17. He was truly a phenomenal player, having 23.5 sacks as well. He was a game changer for the middle of the Steelers' defense. He wasn't just this guy who could make plays. He fit the steel curtain. He was mean, nasty, and had that look to him that just screamed, "Do not piss off." Jack Lambert is one of the best players to ever wear the black and gold. No one would dispute that. He was such a violent player, a violent tackler. He fit the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the one thing I will always remember is when I was watching a documentary as a kid, and they described how they first saw him. It was a Kent State practice where he played college ball at. They were practicing on the pavement. And as they said, Jack Lambert made a running tackle, made the play, comes up and picking rocks out of his leg. The team realized then he was destined to be a Steeler because he fit that locker room. He fit the steel curtain, and he was a Steelers legend. And it just shows you how much a personality can just match up with a team. Now, was Lambert the cleanest player? No. I'm pretty sure he would be arrested if he played in today's NFL with how mean, violent, and nasty he was on the football field. But that doesn't change how he played the game back then. He was by far a linebacker ahead of his times. He was quick. He could get to the ball. He was such a sound tackler. He had good ball skills in the air. He could make plays on interceptions, pass deflections. But nothing will ever come close to just the mean physicality he brought to the field every single time they played, helping them win 4 Super Bowls. Stallworth, the second receiver the Steelers took in the draft. And his story of how he got drafted to the Steelers is almost as amazing as the career he put up. Because John Stallworth put up 8,700 receiving yards, over 500 receptions, 63 touchdowns in an era in which passing still wasn't that prevalent. Teams really won the games by running the football, pounding the rock, and the Steelers had Franco Harris there as well. But John Stallworth just became a dude, and arguably the greatest Steelers wide receiver of all time. There is a case to be made for him. In a franchise that's had Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Hines Ward, and Antonio Brown, he could very well be the best with what he accomplished on the football field, the longevity, and just getting those 4 Super Bowls. Now, Stallworth's draft story is probably my favorite part of it, because for people that don't know, John Stallworth played his college ball at a smaller black college. The film wasn't prevalent back then as it is today. John Stallworth went to Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M didn't have too much film to hand out to NFL teams who were interested in drafting him. But one team that got it was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they fell in love with him. And there's a story that through the first 2 picks of the draft the Steelers had, where they took Lynn Swann and Jack Lambert, head coach Chuck Noll was screaming, "Take John Stallworth. We won't get him. We won't get him. We have to draft him now." But at the time, they said, "Hey, trust us. We'll get him." And the reason why they got him was because that film the Steelers magically got disappeared after they watched it. I wonder what happened to it. I am willing to guess it might still be in Pittsburgh to this day, locked in a bank vault. But John Stallworth was a game changer. He is someone who a modern NFL wide receiver would model his game after. Was so good at tracking the ball in the air, had good contested catch, really crisp route running, and good speed to go along with it. He truly was ahead of his times at the receiver position, and he was a big reason as to why they won 4 Super Bowls. The dynamic duo between him and Lynn Swann was terrifying for defensive backs to cover, with the blonde bomber bombing it all over the field to them. The 4th and final guy the Steelers drafted in this class was Mike Webster, a guy who spent 15 years with the team, being a Hall of Fame starting center. He was the guy that led the push for Franco Harris. He was the guy that protected Terry Bradshaw. He was mean, nasty. Every day in practice, he went up against the Steel Curtain defense. He went up against Mean Joe Green every single day in practice. He had no choice but to become great, because if he didn't, Joe Green would eat him alive every single day. And Mike Webster certainly did that. He was a powerhouse at the offensive line position, moving defensive linemen, protecting his quarterback, doing whatever it took. They would call him Iron Mike. Led and paved the way for the Steelers to win 4 Super Bowls. Donnie Shell, the undrafted player that made the Hall of Fame for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Donnie Shell in his career had 51 interceptions. His career started in 1974, back when the forward pass wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Even now, it would still be very impressive. Back then, it's batshit insane. He got 51 interceptions. A true ball-hawking guy that was all over the field and would make the plays on the football. But it just wasn't that. Donnie Shell was on the Steel Curtain. You had to hit. You had to be physical. You had to tackle. Or else you just wouldn't play. He fit the identity along with having grace on the football field. Donnie Shell only had 2 career touchdowns with 51 interceptions. And it's unfortunate he didn't have more, but he was mainly laying in the boom, and a lot of those interceptions came from hits with the ball flying out in the air, and he had to make the catch. Donnie Shell was truly a legend built, from being undrafted to making the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It might have taken a while for him to make it in there, but he can still say he is a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and he is one of the guys off that Steel Curtain defense to make it, when some others haven't, unfortunately. But that just showcases you the impact he had on the game. He was one of the greatest defenses of all time, and is regarded as one of the greatest safeties of all time. Thank you very much for watching this video. I know this is different, but starting now every year, I want to go back and I want to highlight a legendary draft class. Whether that's from an actual draft or a team getting a phenomenal draft class, it's something I want to talk about because I love draft history and it's so fun, so cool. One of the best pastimes you can have is if you're just reading off names, looking back at past drafts and be like, oh, I forgot he was picked there. Oh, that's so fun. And I'd highly recommend doing that. Pick a random draft class. Do it. It's going to be awesome time. And hey, if you'd subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to hit 200 subscribers by the NFL draft, which when this is released will be in less than a week. I'd greatly appreciate if you'd share this. I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so there is a reason I picked this draft class in particular, but it's also maybe the best draft class in the history of drafting for any North American sports team, because they got 5 Hall of Famers from it. Truly a remarkable feat. And thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, everyone.